I'm about to take you into the darkest corners of winning, not the sanitized, corporate-approved version, not the inspirational poster version, the real version, the version they don't talk about in public but practice in private, the version that makes you uncomfortable because it reveals that success isn't about being the best person, it's about being the most strategic predator. 9 dark psychologies that the eternal winners use to stay on top while everyone else stays beneath them. And I'm warning you right now, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Once you understand how you're being played, you can't go back to innocent. You're either going to use this knowledge to stop being prey, or you're going to reject it and stay food. The choice is yours, but don't pretend you didn't know. Don't act surprised when you keep losing, because after this, you'll know exactly why. And if you're ready to see how deep the darkness goes, if you're ready to understand why nice people finish last and predators finish first, if you're ready to stop being weak and start being a winner, comment, "I see the game" right now. Show me you're not here for comfort, you're here for truth. The brutal, uncomfortable, undeniable truth about how power actually works. Number 5. Moral flexibility. They play by different rules than they preach. You follow the rules, they don't. You think there's a level playing field. There isn't. You believe in fairness, integrity, doing the right thing. They believe in winning. And the moment you understand that your opponent isn't playing by the rules you're following, you'll understand why you keep losing. Because you're playing checkers, they're playing chess, with pieces you don't even know exist, following rules you've never heard of, in a game you don't even realize you're in. The winners preach morality and practice amorality. They talk about ethics and operate from pure strategy. They build public brands around values they don't hold privately. Why? Because morality is a tool. Ethics are a weapon. Values are marketing. They know that people trust people who seem moral, so they seem moral. In public, where it matters, where it creates advantage, but in private, in the room where deals are made, in the moments where no one's watching, they do whatever works, whatever wins, whatever gets the result. Look at any person of significant power and you'll find moral contradictions everywhere. They preach environmentalism while flying private jets. They talk about equality while living in gated communities. They advocate for fair wages while exploiting cheap labor. They speak about transparency while hiding their actual operations. This isn't hypocrisy. This is strategy. This is understanding that the masses need to believe you're moral, while the reality of winning requires moral flexibility. You're constrained by your ethics, they're freed by their lack of them. You won't lie even when lying would serve you. They lie strategically and sleep fine. You won't manipulate even when manipulation would win. They manipulate as a default and feel nothing. You won't betray even when betrayal would advance you. They betray the moment the math makes sense. And that's why they're ahead. Not because they're smarter, because they're willing to do what you won't. The dark truth is this. Every major success story involves moral compromise. Every billion-dollar company has exploited someone. Every powerful leader has betrayed someone. Every empire is built on casualties. They don't tell you this in the success books. They don't share this in the interviews. They sanitize their story for public consumption. But the real story? The real story is dark. The real story involves choices you wouldn't make, lines you wouldn't cross, casualties you wouldn't accept. And that's precisely why you're not where they are. I'm not telling you to become a sociopath. I'm telling you to stop being naive. Stop thinking everyone is playing by the same moral code you are. Stop bringing ethics to a knife fight. Stop handicapping yourself with principles that your competition doesn't share. They'll smile at you, shake your hand, talk about values. Then they'll destroy you the moment it serves them, and they won't lose sleep because to them, it's just business, just strategy, just the game. Here's your choice: stay morally pure and stay powerless, or develop moral flexibility and start winning. Understand that ethics are contextual, that rules are for people who aren't powerful enough to break them, that morality is a luxury of the weak who comfort themselves by believing they're better than the strong. The strong don't care about being better, they care about being effective, and effective doesn't always mean ethical. Stop judging yourself by rules that your competition isn't following. Stop limiting yourself with ethics that are keeping you weak. Figure out what you're actually willing to do, what lines you'll actually cross, what prices you'll actually pay. Because until you're honest with yourself about that, you're just pretending to play while the real players are winning. And your moral superiority? It's not a crown, it's a cage. Number 6. Emotional detachment. They don't feel what you feel. You care too much about what people think, about being liked, about hurting feelings, about being fair. And every ounce of care is leverage someone else has over you. Every emotional attachment is a button someone can push. Every feeling you have about the outcome is power you've given away. The predators see this and they use it because they don't have those feelings, or they've learned to kill them, or they've compartmentalized so effectively that they can turn them off when it's time to win. Winners are emotionally detached from outcomes in a way that normal people can't comprehend. They can make a decision that destroys someone and eat dinner like nothing happened. They can fire a loyal employee and sleep perfectly. They can end a relationship with no guilt. They can walk away from any bad deal without looking back. Not because they're psychopaths, because they've trained themselves to separate emotion from strategy, to separate feelings from decisions, to separate what's necessary from what's comfortable. You're making emotional decisions and wondering why you're losing. You're not firing the person who needs to be fired because you feel bad. You're not ending the relationship that's draining you because you feel guilty. You're not walking away from the bad deal because you've already invested so much emotion. Every emotional attachment is a chain. Every feeling is a weakness. Every time you let emotion drive your decision, you've lost before you've started. Think about negotiation. You want the deal too much. The other side can feel it. You're emotionally attached to the outcome. They're not. You're desperate. They're indifferent. Who has the power? Who gets better terms? The person who cares less wins. Always. The person who can walk away wins. Always. The person who has no emotional attachment to whether this specific deal happens wins. Always. And you are losing because you care, because you feel, because you're emotionally invested in outcomes that predators see as just one option among many. The predators practice emotional detachment like a skill. They train themselves to not care, to not feel, to not attach. They go into every situation knowing they can walk away, knowing they have options, knowing that this specific person, this specific deal, this specific outcome doesn't matter. And that detachment, that gives them all the power. Because the moment you need something, you're weak. The moment you care about something, you're vulnerable. The moment you're emotionally invested, you're controlled. You think empathy is strength. They know empathy is a liability. You think caring about people makes you a better leader. They know caring about people makes you a manipulable leader. You think feeling deeply makes you human. They know feeling deeply makes you weak. And they're right. In the arena of power, feelings are weapons used against you. Attachments are chains. Empathy is a vulnerability to be exploited. Here's what you need to understand. The people beating you aren't feeling what you're feeling. When you're stressed, they're calm. When you're attached, they're indifferent. When you're desperate, they're abundant. When you're invested, they're detached. That emotional gap is the power gap. That's the difference between predator and prey. Predators don't feel for their food, they just eat. Stop caring so much. Stop being so emotionally invested in every outcome. Stop letting your feelings drive your decisions. Start seeing relationships as strategic alliances, not emotional bonds. Start seeing opportunities as options, not necessities. Start seeing outcomes as probabilities, not destinies. Detach, or be controlled by every person who sees your emotional attachment and uses it as a handle to manipulate you. Your choice. Number 7. Information asymmetry. They know what you don't. You're playing poker with your cards face up. They're not. You're sharing everything you know, everything you feel, everything you're planning. They're sharing nothing. You think transparency is trust. They know transparency is stupidity. Because in a world where information is power, the person who knows more and reveals less has all the advantages, and you're giving yours away for free. Winners hoard information. They collect it obsessively from everyone about everything, and they share nothing unless it serves them. Every conversation is an intelligence gathering operation. Every interaction is a chance to learn something useful. Every relationship is potentially valuable for what they might reveal. They're always listening, always watching, always cataloging, building a database of knowledge that gives them advantages you don't even know exist. You're telling people your plans, your strategies, your next moves. Why? Why would you do that? Every person you tell is either a potential competitor who can now counter your move, or a potential gossip who will spread your information to people who can use it against you. Winners keep their plans private. They move in silence. They let their results do the talking, because they understand that information disclosed is advantage surrendered. Think about your workplace. Your boss knows your salary. You don't know theirs. Your boss knows everyone's performance. You only know yours. Your boss knows who's getting promoted. You are guessing. That information asymmetry is power. That's how they stay in control. That's how they keep you guessing. That's how they maintain leverage. And you're participating in a system where you're deliberately kept in the dark while being asked to be transparent. That's not fair. That's strategic. That's predatory. The predators are always asking questions, getting you to reveal, getting you to expose your thinking, getting you to share your concerns, and they're absorbing everything, learning your weaknesses, understanding your leverage points, mapping your psychology, while revealing nothing about themselves. Every answer you give is ammunition. Every detail you share is potential leverage. Every moment of honesty is a moment of vulnerability. And they're weaponizing all of it. You walk into negotiations unprepared. They've researched everything about you, your financial situation, your options, your pressure points, your timeline. They know more about your position than you know about theirs. That's not luck. That's preparation. That's information warfare. And you're losing because you think meetings are collaborative. They know meetings are battles, and they come armed with intelligence, while you come armed with good intentions. Here's what you do immediately. Stop sharing. Stop being so open. Stop thinking that transparency builds trust. It doesn't. It builds vulnerability. Start collecting information instead of giving it. Start asking questions instead of answering them. Start learning about everyone while revealing nothing about yourself. Be the mystery. Be the one who knows more than anyone realizes. Be the one with information advantages, because in a world of predators, information is the only thing that keeps you from being prey. And when someone asks you questions, ask yourself, why do they want to know this? What will they do with this information? How could this be used against me? If you can't answer those questions with certainty, don't answer theirs. Deflect, redirect, give vague non-answers. Protect your information like it's gold, because it is. It's the gold that keeps you alive in a world where knowledge is power and ignorance is death.
Number 8. Strategic cruelty. They'll hurt you if it serves them. You think people are fundamentally good. They're not. You think everyone operates from compassion. They don't. You think cruelty is the exception. It's the rule. Hidden, disguised, justified, but always there. The predators understand that sometimes hurting someone is the optimal strategy, and they'll do it without hesitation, without guilt, without looking back, because to them, your pain is just a cost of their victory, and they're willing to pay it. Winners are strategically cruel, not sadistic, not evil, just willing to cause harm when harm achieves the objective. They'll destroy your reputation if it eliminates a competitor. They'll betray your trust if it creates an advantage. They'll exploit your weakness if it produces a result. They'll discard you if you're no longer useful, not because they hate you, because you're no longer part of the equation, because keeping you around costs more than cutting you loose, because cruelty in that moment is the efficient choice. You're still operating under the illusion that if you're good to people, they'll be good to you. That's not how power works. Power works like this. People are good to you as long as you're useful, as long as you provide value, as long as keeping you happy serves their interests. The moment that equation changes, so does their behavior. And if hurting you serves them better than helping you, they'll hurt you. They'll just feel bad about it, or pretend to, while doing it anyway. Think about your career. How many times have you been promised something that never materialized? How many times has someone taken credit for your work? How many times have you been passed over for someone less qualified but more connected? How many times has loyalty been met with betrayal? That's not bad luck. That's strategic cruelty. That's people making calculated decisions that you losing is worth them winning, and they made that calculation without losing sleep. The predators at the top have done things that would horrify you. They've sacrificed people, they've broken promises, they've exploited vulnerabilities, they've twisted truths, they've created casualties. Not because they're monsters, because that's what winning required in that moment, because the person who's unwilling to be cruel when necessary is the person who loses to someone who is willing. It's that simple, that dark, that true. You're handicapping yourself by being unwilling to hurt people, even when hurting them is necessary, even when they deserve it, even when it's the only strategic move. You're choosing to lose rather than be cruel, and you think that makes you a good person. Maybe it does, but it definitely makes you a losing person, because in a world full of predators, the prey who won't bite back doesn't survive. They just get eaten more slowly. Here's the truth you don't want to face. You will have to hurt people to win. You will have to fire someone who depends on the job. You will have to leave someone who loves you. You will have to betray someone who trusted you. You will have to prioritize yourself over someone else. You will have to choose your victory over someone else's well-being. Not because you're evil, because that's what winning costs. And if you're not willing to pay that price, you're not willing to win. You're just willing to pretend to play while feeling morally superior about losing.
The question isn't whether you'll hurt people. You will. The question is whether you'll do it strategically for outcomes that matter, in service of something bigger than the moment, or whether you'll hurt people accidentally, thoughtlessly, while gaining nothing from it. The predators choose the former. The prey experience the latter. Choose carefully, because cruelty is coming either way. You can be the one wielding it strategically, or the one experiencing it as a victim. Those are the options.
Number 9. The long game. They're playing chess while you're playing checkers. You want results now, today, this week. You're impatient. You're short-term. You're thinking about the next move. They're thinking about the game 3 years from now, 5 years, 10 years. They're sacrificing today for tomorrow. They're losing battles to win wars. They're planting seeds that won't bloom for years. And that patience, that long-term thinking, that's why they own everything and you own nothing. Winners are willing to look stupid, poor, and unsuccessful for years if the long-term payoff is worth it. They'll take jobs that pay less for experience that's priceless. They'll invest money they don't have in education that won't pay off for a decade. They'll build relationships with people who can't help them now but will be powerful later. They're playing a game that most people don't even realize exists, because most people are stuck in immediate gratification, immediate results, immediate validation, and immediate is where you stay forever. You're making decisions based on what feels good now. They're making decisions based on what will compound over time. You're choosing the comfortable job. They're choosing the difficult apprenticeship. You're spending money to look successful. They're investing money to become successful. You're building a lifestyle. They're building a foundation. You're playing for today. They're playing for decades. And that difference? That's why you'll never catch them. Because by the time you realize what game they were playing, they're so far ahead that catching up is impossible. Think about your decisions in the last year. How many were based on short-term comfort versus long-term positioning? How many sacrificed future advantage for present pleasure? How many felt good in the moment but set you back in the trajectory? The predators are making the opposite decisions. They're choosing uncomfortable for strategic. They're choosing delayed gratification for compound returns. They're choosing invisible progress for exponential outcomes. And you're choosing visible comfort for linear stagnation. The long game requires emotional strength you probably don't have. It requires being willing to look like you're losing while you're actually positioning. It requires enduring judgment from people who don't understand what you're building. It requires faith in outcomes you can't see yet. Most people can't handle that, so they play short. They optimize for now. They need immediate proof that their strategy is working. And that need? That's what keeps them small. That's what keeps them prey. Winners can delay gratification indefinitely. They can invest years into something with no return. They can be patient while everyone else is panicking. They can hold assets while everyone else is selling. They can build relationships that have no immediate payoff. They can learn skills that seem irrelevant. Because they're not playing the game you're playing. They're playing a different game, one where time is the compounding factor, one where patience is the weapon, one where the person who can wait the longest wins everything. Here's what you need to understand. Everything you want quickly, you'll lose quickly. Every shortcut you take creates a weakness. Every time you optimize for now, you sacrifice later. The predators know this, so they build slowly. They compound relentlessly. They think in decades while you think in quarters. And by the time you realize you've been playing the wrong game, they own the board. They own the pieces. They own you. Stop thinking short-term. Stop needing immediate results. Stop optimizing for comfort and validation now.
Start thinking in 5-year blocks. Start making decisions that won't pay off for years. Start sacrificing present for future. Start playing the long game, because that's the only game that actually matters. Everything else is just noise, just distraction, just prey behavior that keeps you exactly where the predators want you, too focused on surviving today to build for tomorrow. Here we are, 9 dark psychologies of eternal victory. Not inspirational, not comfortable, not the story they tell in success seminars. The real story, the dark story, the story about how power actually works when you strip away all the sanitized mythology and look at the raw mechanics of winning. Most people who heard this are already rejecting it, already finding reasons why it doesn't apply to them. They can't, and they won't. You felt something hearing this, somewhere between recognition and revulsion. Part of you knows this is true. Part of you has seen these patterns play out. Part of you has been prey and didn't even realize it until now. Another part of you wants to reject it completely, wants to believe the world is kinder than this, wants to think that good people win just by being good. That part of you? That's the part that's been keeping you weak. That's the part that predators have been feeding on. That's the part that has to die if you're going to survive. Let me be absolutely clear about something. I'm not telling you to become a sociopath. I'm not telling you to abandon all morality and become purely predatory. I'm telling you to wake up, to see the game clearly, to understand that while you've been playing by one set of rules, an entire class of people has been playing by different rules. And those different rules, those are the ones that win. Those are the ones that accumulate power. Those are the ones that create the eternal victors. You have a choice now. You can reject this information, go back to believing in fairness and karma and good things come to those who wait. You can keep being prey, keep being food for people who understand these psychologies and use them without hesitation. Keep losing while feeling morally superior. That's an option. That's a valid choice. It's just a choice that guarantees you stay where you are. Or you can integrate this knowledge. You can start seeing the world as it actually is instead of how you wish it was. You can develop the psychological sophistication to recognize when these strategies are being used on you and defend against them. You can start implementing some of these strategies yourself in service of outcomes that matter to you. You can stop being prey and start being predator. Not evil, not cruel for cruelty's sake, but strategic, effective, willing to do what winning actually requires. The eternal victors aren't waiting for your permission. They're not hoping you'll wake up. They're perfectly happy with you staying asleep, staying naive, staying weak, because your weakness is their strength. Your hesitation is their opportunity. Your morality is their advantage. Every moment you spend believing in a fair game is a moment they're using unfair advantages to get further ahead, and they're fine with that, because that's how the game works. Right now, do this. Hit that like button. Not because you enjoyed this, but because you recognized truth when you heard it, because something in you knows this is real, even if it's uncomfortable. Share this with someone who's ready. Not everyone. Most people will reject this violently, but you know someone who's been losing and doesn't know why. Someone who's been playing fair in an unfair game. Someone who needs to see how the board actually works. Send it to them. Subscribe, because this is just the surface. There's more, deeper patterns, darker truths, more uncomfortable realities about how power operates. And if you're serious about winning, about surviving, about thriving in a world full of predators, you need all of it. Not the sanitized version, the real version. And finally, comment which of these 9 psychologies hit you hardest. Which one did you recognize being used on you? Which one made you most uncomfortable? Which one are you willing to implement? Be honest, because honesty is the first step to transformation, and transformation is the only thing that saves prey from predators. Winners eat the weak. That's not a metaphor.
That's reality. The question is, are you going to stay weak and get eaten? Or are you going to develop the psychology of a winner and start eating? Because there are only two positions at this table, and if you're not eating, you're the meal. The game is happening right now, while you're watching this, while you're thinking about it, while you're deciding whether to accept what I just told you. Someone is using these psychologies on you. Someone is positioning for advantage. Someone is seeing you as food, and they're feeding. The question is, when are you going to stop letting them? Wake up. The predators are already here. They've always been here, and they're hungry. What are you going to do about it?